Hello, my dears INFJ entrepreneurs. Welcome back to another video, or if you are listening to this one on the podcast, welcome back to the podcast. This week, we are going to talk about whether or not you should quit your job. And I want to put a disclaimer here. Your situation is completely individual to all of us, most of us. So it's not for me to give you advices on that because it's your situation. All I can say is give my own examples and examples of other business owners that I knew. Okay, so when it comes to us deciding we want to build a business, it's very exciting. So the very first emotion that we feel is excitement. We feel very, very motivated, and we believe that in order for us to be growing something, we need to go and do it full time. Now, I agree that's true. Like the more we can put our energies into something, the better we can grow it. However, there is a learning curve. Whether or not you can monetize your business as quick as possible is dependent on how business savvy are you. And many of us, especially INFJs, we can get into a bit of an artistic realms when we are so artistic in our expressions that we have yet to figure out how we are going to attach this gift into something that has value in the marketplace and it's actually giving a solution to an existing problem. So what sometimes ends up happening is, and I see it a lot when INFJs they enter into the marketplace, is that they have their passions, but there is a learning curve in them learning how to articulate that, how to frame that in a way that is actually needed in the marketplace and that the people can recognize that this is something they need and they're willing to pay for it. Some solutions are easier to sell and some solutions are a bit more complex. I did an entire video on this one, but when you enter into business and you already know how you're going to monetize your skills and expertise, and you know how to frame it, and it's easy to sell, and you're going to sign clients right away, that's easier for you than transition out of your current job. And when I was having a conversation with Wences on this, we did an interview together. If you haven't seen that, I'm gonna link it somewhere in this video. But basically, she was also saying how she had her daytime job, like she was working in a bank, and she has a quite good paying daytime job, right? And whenever she wanted to build her channel and she kind of decided that she wants to build this into something that is sustaining her financially, she said she was doing videos on the weekends. Basically Sunday she was just filming and then she went to work and then she was editing, and the weekends she could film videos and upload them. And she had her daytime job until she was making enough money for her to quit her job. And I think that's honestly the best approach. When you are building something and it's not at the place where you can monetize it yet, it's really good to have those backup plans of an actual job on the side that is giving you that financial security. Because I'm going to talk about what's the opposite of that. And then pursuing your passions and really giving yourself a chance to figure out how you're going to make this happen, how you're going to make money, and how you're going to make money in a consistent basis. So while it sounds alluring to jump headfirst into a business and be like, I'm going to do this full time, if you don't have that financial security, and again, it's really up to you. If you have 6 months saved up or even up to a year, and you can just say, hey, I have a year up to, I have 12 months of savings I could live off to figure this business out. I'm going to give myself time to really find my people, find my buyers and sell them whatever I want to sell them, right? Your business. It's fine. It's a different scenario. But if you're betting on, I'm just going to jump head first and then we'll see what happens, you're going to very quickly find yourself in a situation where like you are feeling a pressure. And I want to dive into that security / insecurity / pressure. So I believe that we don't do really well under pressure and we get in our heads, we get anxious. It's really hard for us to be not knowing and not having any security and then jumping into something because we believe we are just excited. And I think most INFJs are quite considerate. Like we know that we need to have some reserves or some kind of way to sustain ourselves, even move back to your parents if that's what you need to do, but like some kind of way so that we can really give this a space that it needs in order to grow. But if you are in a situation in which you have no security. So your baseline is like, you don't know when your next client is going to come from, you kind of quit your job, and you kind of want to go all in the business, but you just don't have that plan just yet. You don't have the money in the bank just yet. Then it's really hard for you to just find that space where you can set up shop and let people shop around. The reason why I'm saying that is because when we enter into that insecurity realm, our bandwidth, like our mental headspace, is going to be taken up with this question like, I need clients now, I need to make money now. And that gets us sometimes into like a desperation field, which when we get desperate, is really hard for us to naturally let people come to their terms and come to our shop and buy from us. And when I'm saying come to our shop, invisible shop, okay? Because most of the times when people feel pressured, like they feel like unless I pay you, there is pressure. You have to apply pressure, right? Because you need to also make money to pay your rent and bills and everything. So because of that pressure, people feel that, and they feel the desperation that comes with it, and they immediately get turned off. So what I have found in talking to other business owners who were operating in the desperation field is that I just don't feel like I want to work with those people, because I feel like if they couldn't find a way to make it work, maybe there's something wrong with what they offer, right? Or somehow that implies that you might just need to hire someone else, right? And when you feel like you're hiring someone out of pity, for example, then you just don't feel naturally like excited about working with someone like that, right? Unless you have a tendency to like save people. But even so, like transactions, they have to feel really good for both parties. And when we say, okay, have your security blanket first and then build in that security nest, is much easier, because then you drop the pressure. You don't have to make it tomorrow. You don't have to make it in a week. So you can really build your business in your own pace, at your own pace, while you keep your job, while you have that financial security, so that it can really just be coming from that secure place and let people come to their own decisions in their own times. And I think that's something that, as I'm a marketing director in big businesses, what I have learned is sometimes these big companies have their own quotas. They want to reach like a certain amount of income in every month to, sustain their growth. And what I have found is when they put this pressure that, oh my God, like this month is almost over and we are under our quota, they feel like they get into this desperation mood. Like, what do we do? And they burn their contacts, their contact list, the people that were not ready to buy, because they are become pushy. They become like, hey, buy now, book now, do this now, because in the back end, they don't say it, but like, I need to meet my quota. But that's not how shopping works. And if you really zoom out and look at big companies like Apple, people are buying every day and they're not going to chase you. They're just going to release products once a year, twice a year, and you buy it or not. They're not going to come after you. They're not going to email you. They're not going to be like, hey, are you going to buy that iPhone or not? They're just going to be a shop. They're going to present their stuff, and it's up to you if you're going to buy it tomorrow, a week later, a year later. It doesn't matter to them, because they are fine no matter what. In fact, if you want to order something and you end up canceling it, they're not going to call you like, hey, what happened? You canceled your product? They won't, because they are secure in their businesses and they know that you're coming whenever it's ready. You're coming whenever you're ready. And I think one of the most important traits of any long-term business success is to be okay with people coming when they can come and when is the time for them to come. And what you can do as a business owner, if you can put some effort and you can be proactive, but you cannot make someone buy unless they also want to. And sometimes that takes time for them. Sometimes you are lucky and you're both looking for the same thing when you are reaching out to people and trying to get some business for yourself. And that's amazing. But sometimes it's just about timing. Sometimes it's like, hey, they need more time. They need more social media posts for you. They need more videos from you. They need to be building a connection with you before that happens. We cannot possibly push people into a decision they don't want to make because we need to make rent. And when we are having that blanket, so we are building something in the back end and we're actively working on it, but we also have our jobs, it's easier to be building something and have our jobs. I know it's much more exhausting. Like, it's exhausting to have your daytime job, and then on the weekends you put more time. But there will be a time where you are able to shift out of your job and do what you do full time. By that time, you have really figured out how to market what you have going on. You have taught yourself a lot of skills. You have to learn on the way to sell what you have going on, which is a whole nother thing that INFJs have to develop, because honestly, when it comes to selling, we just want to run away. We don't want to be in the conversation when the sales happen. But it's much easier to operate a business from security. You have a bigger bandwidth, and you're able to give your creativity and the trial and error, and you trying to put yourself out there and learning the art of expressing yourself and seeing how that lands with people. It's easier to do that when you have some security, whether it's your job, whether it's your savings. So I always recommend that to people, that you have to kind of give yourself that space so that you can really jump in. My situation, I'm going to tell you this, guys, because it was a little bit different. So my situation was different because I was still studying at university, and I was doing my master's in IP law and internet law. And what ended up happening is COVID hit, actually. It was 2020, COVID hit. And at that time, I was already doing one of gigs campaigns for this company. So because I was already generating some money, I didn't have like a fixed client, but I had, this gig here, this gig there. So I had like small inquiries that would help me financially at the time. And when COVID hit really, and the university was kind of over, you couldn't go to the courses anymore, is when I really dig deep into my own business and creating that. But I already had those inquiries coming. I already had built some of those relationships. I was doing one-off campaigns for people when I was going into actually offering my services to people. And I remember landing a client that is still with me to this day. That put me through the entire period of COVID when I couldn't network anymore. And that is a client that I managed to get on retainer, which was a reoccurring revenue to me. So because I was so lucky to have first, while I was studying, I had those one time, 1 month, 2 months, 2 weeks gigs that were giving me like campaigns that were giving me some cushion. But also transitioning out of that, I was able to land a client right away on a monthly retainer that I could then retain now for 5 years. So I was very lucky. My situation was different. If in my entire life, and I'm going to turn 32 now, if I worked 3 months at a traditional job, that's already a lot. Like I don't think even 3 months I worked at like a big company. Because when I was doing those one-off gigs, I was working as a contractor. So I was already in a contractor status and doing their campaigns for them and helping them with campaigns, right? So because of that, I was able to build security. And then with the monthly retainer client, I was even building that security. And when I had that one monthly retainer client, then on top of that, I could bring in more and more and more. And if one fell off, I would still have my cushion, retainer clients. And by then I was able to save up enough money that even if everyone left me that I work with right now, I could still be not dying from hunger, right? So I have savings now. But I think to get to that point, I really had to think of it differently. And I was really lucky as well. But I understand that most of us are not so lucky to not only be able to land your first client on a long-term basis, but also to never really have to go to 9 to 5 and work your way and balance that. I know, for example, Vences was able to do that. So there are many, many examples like her that were able to transition out of their job and go full-time on their business. But I feel like it's better to have some security before we do that than jumping headfirst, because when something has to work out now, it's going to be so much pressure that you don't need to put on yourself. Again, it will give desperate vibes to the people, and unless you love pressure, like by all means, if you love pressure, knock yourself out. I'm sure this is gonna be great for you. But most of us, we don't like to work under pressure. We like to take our time. And also, I know businesses that took over a year to really start working out. So like I said, it's so different for everyone until they really find a way to hit home in the marketplace, and that takes a lot of experimentation for them to do so. So I hope this was helpful for you and you consider your choices a little bit better at this point. Good luck with transitioning into full-time entrepreneurship. If this is your first time listening to me, I would love to see you in our Facebook community. Welcome to join us. We meet every single month for our virtual hangout. We'd love to see your face as well. And when you go and join the Facebook community, just make sure you fill out a form. We're gonna give you access to our newsletter so you don't miss a video or a virtual hangout or any event that we organize. Thank you so much for being here, watching and listening to this one. Don't forget, courage over fear, progress over perfection. And I'll see you guys very soon.